Welcome to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, brought to you by 𝙎𝙀𝙎𝙀. This podcast helps lead lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Here is your legal marketing expert and host, Ken Hardison.
Well, hello, everyone. This is Ken Hardison, and welcome to another episode of Grow Your Law Firm. And today we have the privilege of having Kerri Coby White with 𝙎𝙐𝙎𝙎 company, and she is one of the co-founders of that company. And her 20 years of experience honing professional and personal skills needed to compete in today's challenging environment at 𝙎𝙎𝙎. She focuses her efforts on transforming prospects into clients into firm ambassadors, and attorneys into rainmakers through an approach that recognizes the vital importance of both technology and human interaction in growing a law practice. And so we're going to be talking about intake today. And Kerri, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. And I met Kerri at the National Trial Lawyers back in May, and I asked her would she join us. And she's also going to be on our intake panel at the upcoming 𝙎𝙀𝙎𝙎 Super
Can't wait.
Yeah, in New Orleans at the Ritz-Carlton, September 29th through October 2nd. But no, you know, this, we were talking before we started this, and, you know, this is something that, you know, I used to do a lot of consulting work. I don't now that much. But what I found was all lawyers, there's always the most leakage is in intake. That's why I see more money wasted in law firms. Spend all this money to get these cases, get these people to call, and then they drop the ball at the most critical aspect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Ken, at that conference recently, we were all out one evening dressed to kill, and someone asked me what I do, and I told them I was a plumber. Because we need plumbers in this industry with the challenges and the exorbitant cost of marketing. You're paying a lot of money. You can't afford to let any of it drip through leaky funnels. And so we really spend a lot of time with firms who are trying to find the cracks in their funnel and plugging those leaks. And it's critically important as we continue to race to the top of marketing costs in this industry that we really make the most of those budgets by plugging all of those leaks and ensuring that every good lead is well serviced and no lead is left behind.
So tell me your story. So how did you get into this? How did you get into this business?
Great question. I actually started my career in teaching. I've spent 11 years as a classroom teacher, primarily teaching middle school gifted students. And believe it or not, attorneys and middle school gifted students actually have a whole lot in common. They all think they know everything. So... it's very true. So there's a bit of a barrier to entry because not everyone, believe it or not, loves working with attorneys. There's an intimidation factor. And after having to teach sex ed to middle school students, I am very hard to intimidate. So so after my career in teaching and 3 children, that just wasn't the right spot for me to revise my schedule. So I was looking for part-time work, ended up in nonprofit where I met a ton of people. Believe it or not, actually, Ken, I know you're getting ready to go golfing. I worked for the First Tee as the director of education. And through that relationship, met a lot of people on the board and eventually realized that I could utilize my marketing and communication skills in private business more profitably than in nonprofit. And so about 13 years ago, I hung a shingle and invested my time in learning the marketing areas of my first client, which was a law firm. And so over the last 13 years, I've spent my time doing that and have found that my niche for my partner and I have a partner, James Brooks, and James focuses very much on the tech and data side. And my passions are in human relationships and great teams. And so when we combine those two aspects, we find that some of the most effective work we can do consulting with law firms is helping them optimize their team and their technology to really find the leaks in their funnel and make themselves more profitable. And really, it's been a passion project as we've watched over the years how much more challenging this space has become, especially, like I said earlier, with that race to the top of the marketing spend. So, folks are spending an awful lot of money, and we want to make sure that every dollar that they spend is well spent. And the way we do that is by paying a lot of attention to intake.
Absolutely. It's funny. I would, like I said, I don't do it anymore, but I used to go out and visit law firms, spend a couple of days with them, and I would send them a questionnaire before. And one of the questions would be, what percentage of cases do you sign up that you want? And everybody say 90, 95%, 100%.
Exactly.
And then I would go and do like 5 ghost calls and record them.
Mm-hmm.
And I would play them for them when I got there. And one guy get physically sick and had to go to the bathroom and go up. They were spending $2 million a year on TV.
Yes.
So the deal is what you said earlier is that a lot of them, I don't know, that was going to be my next question is, do you think they really believe they are signing up all the cases, or they just don't want to know, or what do you think the problem is?
Well, it's interesting. I think a lot of times if you've had some success early on as a small practice, if you've had some success, you very quickly move away from that space in your own business. For our business, for James and I, for Kerri James, we love looking at our business. And so if you're going to improve your business, you have to get granular. And I think when you are a lawyer, you're expected to be a business owner and a lawyer, in many cases, a marketer as well. And so you're really trapped between all these different passions, and running a business is really not one that lawyers are particularly well prepared for. And certainly being a marketing company isn't something that law school teaches you. So I think a lot of lawyers do find themselves trapped in this, especially early on, with learning how to be an effective attorney, an effective marketer, and an effective business owner. And so I don't think that I don't think they believe they are being untruthful when they share those numbers with us. I think they've just removed themselves. And if you want to grow your business, in the same way that the guy who wants to get fit counts his macros and the guy who wants to get rich counts his pennies, if you want to grow your business, you need to pay attention to the numbers. Like I said, James and I are very different. I sit more on this human side, and I affectionately refer to him as a data dork. But the truth is that when you put those two things together, when you let the data do its thing, collect it, look at it, study it, and then I get to step in and tell the story of that data, we learn so much. One of our clients, we were looking at reports from July today. We know that if we bring in 11 good phone calls per month, that we will hit 100 cases per month. Now, that's, it's taken some time to achieve that and to find that magic number for that particular firm. But do you know how many phone calls we actually have come through the system to hit that number? And I don't mean just leads. I mean, just making the phone ring, because we track everything. The phone rings in that firm about 1,100 times per month. Okay, now not all leads, but 1,100 phone calls. So it's a thriving, busy practice. 1,100 phone calls come through. About 11 leads per day come through to sign 100 cases. So now that we have that real number, we can start to manipulate marketing budgets and say, okay, so we know only about 30% of the phone calls are actually leads. We know of those leads, we close about 30% of them. We can really get pretty granular on those numbers and see exactly what we need to spend to make the phone ring that many times. And the exciting thing about data is the more of it we collect, the more we are informed when it comes to making decisions. And that's the magic part of data from intake in particular. We study it, we look at it, and we know exactly where to make adjustments to make ourselves more effective and efficient. In fact, I was studying call center notes from the last couple of weeks, and we get, for another client, 20% of the phone calls happen at the last 30 minutes of the day. Think about that, 30% of the phone calls. And in this particular office, they turn off their phones 30 minutes before the end of the day. So 30 minutes is actually costing us a whole lot, because that time being handled by an outsourced team, that's when the after hours call center comes in, that team is not nearly as effective as our in-house team. We have tons of data to prove that. We know that from listening to the calls. So instead of being 8:30 to 4:30, we shifted one receptionist who now goes 9:30 to 5:30. And that one small change has dropped our call center costs pretty dramatically because of that very expensive 30 minutes every single day. And it's improved our outcomes. And every one case really does make quite a big difference in this industry. So, getting granular with your data is super important, and you've got to have good tools to do that.
So I mean, there's a lot of, I could say there's a lot, but there's a number of people out there in this industry that about making the intake better. How are y'all different? I mean, what do you, what proprietary, I mean,
Sure.
why you?
So Ken, interestingly, I think the pandemic changed everybody a little bit. And certainly we had to make adjustments with our clients to account for the fact that not everybody was, had that time in the car alone in the morning where they could make phone calls, and suddenly they're homeschooling kids and trying to, book appointments. So even some of the most basic things like engaging clients, or leads rather, wherever they are, became super important for our clients. And so we made sure that everybody was web optimized, that you could come onto the website, you immediately knew you could call, you could book an appointment, you could chat, you could submit a form, you could even self-serve to figure out, do I really need an attorney? So first and foremost, meeting clients where they are. Once we know that we have leads coming in, whatever tactics we're using, and we talk about the 5T, that's our system for improving intake. We have those tactics at work, whether it's your SEO or your PPC or good old word of mouth, your tactics are at play. Now we need to start looking at the team, the tools, the targets we're trying to hit. We're tracking the heck out of everything. And so by far, the most effective thing we do with our clients is install a tool, that's going to work for them. That is aggregating all of their leads in one place. That means you're not, running from the receptionist's spreadsheet to the email inbox. We have to get all the leads into a central location so that they are being properly managed. That's number one. We also need to make sure that everyone is being responded to in real time. People have become increasingly impatient, and so we need to make sure that there is an auto engagement. If someone drops a message or books an appointment, immediately they are engaged with an automated system. Automation can kind of get a negative connotation, of course. It needs to be well done, and that's something that every firm should be implementing so that your team is doing things that only humans can do. We let the machines do the things that machines can do. So putting a good tool to use. We customize a software solution for our clients. It's called Loop. We put Loop in any client that isn't already using a system. Some firms obviously are already using some sort of lead tracking system. As far as tracking goes, we want to make sure that we are collecting that data as well as recording calls. And I think that we cannot underscore enough how important it is for every law firm, whoever is the head of intake or the proprietor of the firm, to listen to those phone calls. You will be shocked by what some of your intake team is grappling with on a day-to-day basis. It will make you more sensitive to the needs of your team, and it will help you improve your intake. So really, you can't even appreciate what it's like to be an intake until you actually spend a solid hour. And if I make it 25 minutes straight listening to phone calls, I pat myself on the back, because it can be rough. It really is. So record your calls, listen to them, and then absolutely need to have monthly meetings with your team. Reward those great call handling moments. Share them with the group. Let's talk about it. What went well? What didn't go well? And then just the same for those poorly handled calls. How could we have done better here? And again, there's a lot of volume, but you catch more bees with honey. If you are being super helpful and pleasant, even to your really unruly, unserviceable, unqualified leads, you you really do make some good headway in your community. So working with your team on those soft skills is incredibly important. So again, focusing the team, the tools, and the tracking.
I got a question. You were talking about recording calls. So I guess most phone systems now have the capability of recording the calls.
Yeah, most firms that, well, certainly if you haven't moved to some sort of voice over IP system that is recording all the calls on the internet, I certainly recommend that. It's very cost efficient. But if you're not, companies like CallRail can actually be very helpful to you. Again, with our custom solution, we build that all in. So you don't even have to go out of your lead tracking system. Your calls are recorded. They're even connected to the keywords you use. And that's really, when we come into a firm, we consult on that level to tie all these bits and pieces together so that it's very manageable. And really, that's where you make those marginal gains that ultimately add up to more cases.
I would tell our listeners, like 13 states out there that you have to notify the person on the other side that you're recording the call.
Excellent. Good reminder, Ken. Thank you for pointing that out. We do offer that. Yeah. In our system, we have a place where we can mention that the call is being recorded. And certainly you do want to check with your state. If you need two-party authorization, you need to make sure that that's enabled.
Yeah.
I'm not the lawyer, though.
No, I saw a lawyer. And I don't remember which states it are, but I looked it up one time and researched it.
Yeah, so I know we've got a whole bunch of clients across the East Coast, and we have everybody recording. Another thing that's really helpful in the tracking is that we can give those whisper messages so that when intake gets that call, it says, this is a call from PPC, this is a call from LSA, and it will inform our marketing efforts. And again, closing that loop is hugely important. So, when it comes to Loop, the software that we customize for our clients, we're closing the loop both in marketing and the feedback loop when it comes to improving the actual servicing of leads as they come into the firm.
So did you cover all the T's there? I heard the first three.
Oh, let's see. So certainly talking about the team, the target. So yes, once you have some data collected, get that baseline data. We've got great reporting that we can look at all of that, and then let's push the envelope. Let's set some higher bars and see, where we can push the team. And I really do think that as a business owner, if you are the founder or partner in your firm, that's part of your job, motivating your team to hit those targets. There is a degree of sales training that needs to be part of your intake as well. Getting people in the room. And I know, again, this is tricky with the pandemic. Some folks are still working remotely, but when you have a team that is really pushing to hit goals together, and you're bringing people into that boardroom once a month to look at that stuff, or, my folks are getting messages from me like, hey, it's July 30th. We still have these 7 leads sitting and booked. Who booked them? Who's signing them? There really does become a bit of a camaraderie that comes with that can, again, one case makes a difference for so many law firms. And as the business owner, you want to make sure that you are motivating your team to hit those targets. So collect the data and then push the envelope.
Do you help firms actually hire the right person? Because what I found over the years is that you really do have to have the right temperament, the right, you said it a while ago, you got to have somebody with empathy and a good listener.
You do.
And not everybody is that way.
You do. And when you find the right person, you're incredibly lucky. Again, when lawyers sit down and listen to the calls, I think they suddenly realize that they might be undervaluing intake. I think it's a higher paid position than a lot of attorneys want to believe. We haven't directly helped folks hire. We connect a lot of firms with various call centers, trying to find the right ones that meet their needs. We certainly can offer support when it comes to what characteristics you're looking for. But a lot of that training, I think, is very firm specific. But it's not just a warm body. You can't underestimate the importance of that front end person. Whoever's answering your phones and is answering phones at times, 7-8 hours a day, it is rather grueling. Again, listen to your calls and you will suddenly realize that it is a very important part of your business and is not one that should be undervalued. And I even think that that's the same if you're a firm that's sizable enough to have a dedicated intake team. Whoever is overseeing that team has a lot of responsibility, and that can be a hugely important role. So if you're a firm with a large enough team to designate an associate as the head of intake, you want to make sure that they are looking at that team and those calls and those targets and really have an eye on it. Because I know, Ken, you and I were saying, so many of these firms, they think they know their numbers. They really don't. You can learn so much from your numbers to inform your decisions and really improve your system.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. So let me ask you, you were talking about, that firm that was cutting off the phones and going to a call, I guess a remote call center, which I've never seen one do as good as in-house. Because there's a lot of turnover in that industry, and a lot.
Yeah. And some of these, we have one client recently, we wanted better training because it was a very unique firm. They had a very robust business with quite a few practice areas. And so we really needed a knowledgeable team. And so we asked, when it comes to training, how many, out of 100 calls, how many call handlers were there? And in this case, in 1 week, there were, 96 calls handled by 74 agents. And so 90% of those folks were answering for that firm one time. And so we can expect that they're going to know the nuances of our firm. But again, if you really recognize the value of these people in this intake role and compensate them appropriately, it can have a huge impact on your bottom line. And I actually really think that nobody should be working the phones all day long. And if you listen to call center calls, those are people who answer phones all day long. The good ones are hard to come by because it's hard to be empathetic and helpful and positive for 8 hours straight. So if you are lucky enough to bring it in-house, I really suggest that you find roles that cross over so that whoever is in charge of answering the phones for a period of time is also in charge of working on marketing coordination, reviews coordination, so that they're not just answering the phone for 8 hours straight. And if you really find a way to create a job role that is going to be a serious career for someone, not just answering phones, then you'll have the opportunity to better train that person, work with them through a variety of intake elements, and improve the bottom line for the firm, because it does make a difference.
So I'm going to put you on the spot, but
Okay.
This is a question I get asked on the listserv at PILMA all the time. Who is a good after-hours call center?
Oh my gosh, Ken, if I could answer that question, I would have the best call center ever, because my partner and I say it regularly. Man, we don't want to go into the call center business, but I understand why so many attorneys do. So many attorneys do. They go into the call center business because they know it needs to be done well. And unfortunately, it's a really hard role to fill because it needs to be trained up. You need to be constantly providing feedback, and that's not happening. So much as I would like to say this is the golden egg out there and everyone could go rushing and hopefully give me a referral fee, I don't have the answer. And that's because I really do, we work with a lot of different call centers, and it depends on the needs of that particular firm. If you have high volume and you just need someone taking calls and booking appointments, I have low-cost vendors that are better equipped to handle quickly and efficiently, but they don't have the legal expertise. If you want someone doing an extensive intake, I'm going to guide you in a different direction. So I think it's very much needs-based, and there's a lot of trial and error to it. And that I will leave you with this on that answer then. There is no call center that is good in the first 30 days. I am telling you, they all stink. Sorry, guys. They are not good in the first 30 days, and that's not really their fault. It's your job in the first 30 days to listen to those calls and improve your after-hours call handling. That means listen to the way they say your name, listen to how long it takes them to get on the phone, listen to the tone, and then work with the call center instructions to improve it and continually improve it. And that's why I'm saying I think a lot of call centers are getting away with not great service because law firms aren't paying attention to it. When we come in, we pay attention to it, and I'm telling you, it takes 30 days before I feel like it's running the way it should be running. And it's still not as good as in-house.
Kerri, I got a question for you. Do you monitor? Because this is something I think lawyers are getting better at it. But for a while, it was just terrible. Internet leads, where that leads come in online through or either chat or either come in through a form, a free consult or a free review or free what my case is worth. Because it's in my opinion that you got 3 to 5 minutes to answer.
Oh, you're absolutely right. So this is where critically important automation comes in. The second that lead hits, we have an automated message go out, whether that's a chat, a form fill, a survey, an opt-in. And then depending on, we build out these, trees, basically logic trees to tell us how we're going to handle it. If it's something that comes in via text, we want to respond via text. If we can get in the phone, in the person's handheld device, we're going to have a whole lot more luck converting that lead. So if you have the capability to text, by all means, you should be using automation to text those leads immediately. Actually, I'm going to temper that a little bit, not immediately, because you don't want it to seem too automated-y. So, within a minute, our clients' leads will get a message that says, "Hey, John, received your inquiry. I'm going to have someone on my intake team give you a buzz shortly." And that's just going to get them off the scent for a second to go, "Oh, great, they're calling back." Now, all of a sudden, that online search has stopped. So we use that. We if we have clients with significant intake teams that I know are going to place that call immediately, great. They get the automated notification. This guy was already informed. We're giving them a call. That takes place then and there. If we don't, we've set up automation so that it goes immediately to a call center for an outbound call. So you absolutely have only 3 to 5 minutes to convert. 95% of leads will hire the first law firm that they speak to, and you want to be answering that phone when they call. So 24/7 call centers, automation for the things that can be automated, and using a system to do it for you. We can make all those things happen.
In fact, I know some firms that they use the text and they say, so will be calling you, and this will be the number that you see, because some people won't answer a phone if they see the number and they don't recognize it.
Right. So and this is obviously in plenty of firms, the owner of the firm isn't the one making that phone call, but you can get that message that says, "Hi, it's John from the ABC firm. I'm going to have a member of my intake team call you shortly. It may not be from this phone number, but please be sure to answer. We'd love to help." That little bit of, "Hey, we've got you. We're going to pick up this burden." And we talk about that a lot in our book, this moment of burden transfer. If you are coming in to a law firm, something has gone wrong. There is some conflict, some crisis. You want to be the person who takes that burden off the shoulders of the lead and makes them feel like it's in capable hands now. And little nuances with language are super important for passing that burden.
Did you say something about a book?
We do. We have a book. We're still shooting for January 1 release date. We have written a book called The Good Firm. The Good Firm is about Goodman, Owens, Overby, and Donaghy, these 4 attorneys who got it all right. And lots of nuggets on how to implement a system to help your firm be a good firm.
Great.
It sure beats being the bad firm, Berman, Abernathy, and Davis. They got it all wrong, Ken.
All righty. So, any parting thoughts? What do you?
Yes, parting thoughts, Ken. I want everyone to join us vaccinated in New Orleans for PILMA. I really, really hope that everybody stays healthy and can come out in droves. We're really looking forward to being there. And we'd love to talk to folks about their intake. You can visit our site, Kerri James. That's Kerri James, JAMES.co. And you can book an appointment with me there. We love to help audit your intake, take a look at what you've got going on and see where we can improve your 5T, your team, your tools, your targets, your tracking, and the tactics you're using to make that phone ring.
Well, great. Well, listen, very informative, very impressed. And I look forward to, I'm actually going to be on the panel with you, and we're going to
Terrific.
Yeah, well, and we got 2 or 3.
Make sure you don't seat me next to any of the call center guys after what I said. I'm going to get an earful.
No. There'll be no call center guys on this.
Terrific. Well,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed meeting with you, Ken. We look forward to seeing you all in New Orleans.
All right. Until next time, this is Ken Hardison, dedicated to your success.
You have been listening to the Grow Your Law Firm podcast, the podcast that leads lawyers to more growth, profit, and freedom. Go to growyourlawfirm.com to find more ways to market and manage your law firm. Please leave us a rating and review wherever you listen to your podcasts.